Naming depositories. B, approval of resolution of abatement of taxes for Woodbury County, Iowa. C, approval of resolution for abatement of taxes for Woodbury County, Iowa. Item 8 is board administration. Approval of lifting tax suspensions for initials ES. And B, approval of lifting tax suspension for petitioners who failed to recertify their income or income does not qualify for continued tax suspension. Item 9 is community and economic development. Approval to allocate $1,000 in gaming revenue and 2 days of paid time off for the employee contribution campaign. Mr. Glazer, is that United Way? Yes. Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions or concerns on the consent agenda?
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Monson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Mr. Gill, it's 4:32. Is it too early to start the closed session or the public hearing for the sale? I can? All right, we're at a set time for board administration. Public hearing and sale of property parcel ending in 031, also known as 111 Sioux Street. Do we have anybody here to speak in favor of or against the sale of this property?
Hearing none, I move to close the hearing.
Motion by Monson, second by DeWitt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. We're now in the sale process of this parcel located at 111 Sioux Street. Do we have anybody interested in bidding on this? If so, come up to the podium, identify yourself and your address, please.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and swear.
That's fine.
Okay, name is Juan Alvarez. Address is. Uno cero, okay? Tu dirección. Okay, 109 Sioux Street.
Okay, and then does his bid the total minimum bid of $278 plus cost?
Yes.
Okay, do we have any other bidders on this property? Name and address, please.
My name is Edwin. The address is 130 Sioux Street,
Okay,
Sioux City, Iowa.
and what is your bid, sir?
You?
Are you willing to bid on this property as well?
Yep.
Do you want to bid higher than the other gentleman? 278 is the opening bid.
Si quiere apostar más arriba que nosotros.
Maybe.
How much?
¿Cuánto quiere apostar más que nosotros?
Maybe it's here now.
Okay, he's gonna go for $100 higher.
That would make it 378.
378, yeah.
Do we have any other bids? Do we have any counter offers?
All right, we're gonna go for 478.
478. Back to you, sir.
Yeah.
It's only $50.
So you want to add 150?
Oh, no, 50.
50.
Must it go 528?
Five. Do we have any other bids?
$600.
600?
No.
Okay, you're done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else willing to bid on the property? I move to sell on behalf of this gentleman for 600.
Second.
Juan Alvarez, right? Okay.
Motion by DeWitt, second by Monson to sell the property for 600 plus recording fees. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Property is sold. You can talk to Heather back there and she'll take care of the balance of the recording. Thank you. Secondary roads, item 11. Receive bids for crack routing and sealing and return them to the county engineer for review and recommendation. Okay.
Afternoon, Ben Kuzma, Secondary Roads. We received two bids, one from Fort Dodge Asphalt, the other from Sioux Commercial Sweeping in Sioux Center. This is Fort Dodge Asphalt Company from Fort Dodge, Iowa. They bid $110,825. $110,825. Next bid is from Sioux Commercial Sweeping in Sioux Center. And their bid is $62,700. $62,700.
So is that anything you're going to need to review?
No.
Okay.
I would
Wow.
Say we need to award the bid.
All right, I'll go ahead and, I'll move to receive first the bids.
Second.
Motion by Radig, second by Monson. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes.
Oops, sorry.
Those very good prices. That's 2014 prices with it's
Yeah.
excellent.
We need to move to approve Sioux Sweeping,
Sioux Center.
Sioux Center Sweeping for the contract.
I'll second it.
Motion by Monson, second by Radig. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0. We're on C now, right? Receive bids for PCC patching and return them to the county engineer.
We had two bids also for this, 10 Point Construction and Cedar Falls Construction from Cedar Falls. So the first bid is from 10 Point Construction in Denison. Their bid is $54,552. $54,552. The next bid is from Cedar Falls Construction in Cedar Falls, Iowa. They bid $64,612. $64,612.
Move to receive.
Second.
Motion by Monson, second by Radig to receive the bids. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0.
So is there anything in there that needs to be reviewed as well?
Everything looks correct. I believe you can award it to 10 Point Construction of Denison.
I'll move to award to 10 Point Construction.
Second.
Denison.
Motion by Radig, second by Monson to award the bid to 10 Point. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0. Item E, approve the contract for gravel production with Hallett Materials for $275,600.
Move it.
Second.
Motion by Monson, second by Radig to approve the contract with Hallett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
They will, I think they're gonna beginning at the end of the week, start crushing that gravel at Railroad. And next, Tuesday, we'll be bringing you the bids for all the clearing and grubbing at Little Sioux Park.
Passes 5-0, Pat.
You have those big dumpers ready to go?
Think so. Interesting, it's quite a project, both at Railroad and at Little Sioux.
Good.
Appreciate working with Little Sioux with Dan, with the conservation, they've been very helpful, and we end up with a nice project there sometime in the future.
Good, thank you. Item 12, building services. Approve office space at the building services building and related expenditures for the establishment of the Civil Service Commission office.
Kenny Schmidt's Building Services. Woodbury County Board is responsible for finding office space for the Civil Service Commission. They've needed a space on site for quite some time, a place where they can conduct business and house some files that are specific to Woodbury County. We've reviewed space availabilities for the last couple months, and due to the limited availability that we have, the best results we could come up with is providing an office at the Eagles building. It would save costs whereby sharing amenities. There's some backup material that you've got that shows what the cost breakdown of what some of that is. One of the things that doesn't point out are some of the savings. It does show expenditures, but it doesn't include any savings. There are some savings, those being shared conference room, shared copier, and things like that, so there are some cost savings. Asking the board to approve this. Spoke with Dennis Florally with the commission, and this seemed to be a workable solution for all parties.
Where in the building will that be?
It'll be in the lower level.
In the what?
In the lower level of the building?
Toward the back?
Yes, near the back. There's a file room down there and a conference room. It would be kind of equally centered by those.
Where are we going to get the money?
Okay, the money's coming from, the Civil Service Commission have to come up with $7,081. There'll be a one-time cost and $600 annual cost for the software / file storage. That'll be in their budget yearly. The $7,000 and the half of $5,384 would come from reserves. When I say reserves, in the past 3 years, they've only spent they've had reserves carried into our reserves of $13,000. Normally, we do not rebudget those. If a department saves money, we just throw it back in reserve, but in this case, this is a one-time shot here. And also, they have $12,192 in the budget this year. They spent $1,125. So what we'll do is have their expenses go through it normally, also pay for some of this cost as much as we can, then we'll amend the budget in May for the rest of it, come out of our county reserves, which will be very minimal.
I'll move the approval of item A.
Second.
Motion by Radig, second by Monson. Any other questions or comments?
I have a few comments. First of all, I want to thank Denny for his work. He did a great job. I gave him a call, and he got right on it. And Sheriff Sheehan was the one that directed me towards him as the chairperson of the Civil Service Commission, I'm speaking. And also working with Dennis Butler. He also helped us with the budget because I've been on the commission, I don't know how long, never seen a budget. So this is great that we have access to these dollars. Knew we had one out there, but never saw the numbers, so I really appreciate that. And also with that, I want to thank you if you approve this this evening, because it will put a lot to rest, because we've been fighting this issue for about 5-6 years. And now it's going to be put to bed. And I also think you should give this man a raise. I told him I would speak on behalf of him, so I told him I had his back, so, you know, give him a raise.
Civil service has been a ping pong ball for many, many years. They moved around, and it'll be good to have a home. I'd move it.
I already had a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0. Item B, approve Mid-American LEC gas service proposal main extension installation and expenditure.
This is to extend the main gas service to the new LEC, down 28th Street and to the new LEC. Back on July 27th, the board awarded that 28th Street project. I had included in that agenda item at that time other expenditures for approval, and the board decided to defer action on those expenditures until a time when the agreement was done with the city of Sioux City. That agreement is still not complete. I don't know when it will be complete. It is being held up to some other party agreements that the city is working on, as well as ours. And we do need to move things forward. I'd like to get this contract signed so we're not tying Mid-American's hands and they can get this on their schedule and move forward.
This is going from where? Along Lewis Boulevard by chance? Or do you know where it originates? But it stops at the LEC? We're only paying
Yes.
for it to the new LEC?
Yes.
We're not paying for it further east?
Correct.
Okay. Because last I knew, Mid-American was talking about putting a structure out there as well, and
They're at least one of the entities that the city is working with, and there may be more than one.
okay.
Kenny, is the service portion, is that from the main line out by the road to the LEC building itself?
That's part of it. The rest of it is actually down 28th Street itself.
Okay. So is that going to actually be paid by the authority?
You're asking a good question. I think it's something we're going to have to come back to the board with and discuss on how those costs will actually be broken apart. Unless you've got any information you can provide on that at all. We haven't really covered that.
Yeah, because I don't know if the county can actually expend directly on the authority property. I mean, we could potentially make a gift to the authority.
Anything spent inside the boundary lines is up to authority, just like Lieber, doing the prep on the building there. The county can do the same thing here. Authority says, we need this, county contribute money to that project.
So if I read this right, 20,000 of this is the service line that's actually on the property that's owned by the authority. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
First whole 74,000. Didn't the whole 74,000?
The total cost is,
Total cost.
but he's just asking, I believe, on the street
Authority
end.
have to approve, The county have to reimburse them. 74,000
Well,
total.
Right, but 54,000 is the portion along the road, which would be the 28th Street project, and kind of within the scope of that.
The 46,000, isn't that running line from the road into the building? That's what I understand.
Shane, you want to make a comment?
Joshua is 100% correct in this. $54,000 of that is the gas line that's in the road, not up to the building. The other roughly $20,000 is to get it from the road, which would be the 2080 to the building. So it's, the total bill, $54,000 of the bill is what would be the county's portion along the 28E. The $20,000 from the road to the building would be something the authority would have to.
So how much does the board have to come up with? 20,000 or
54.
54,000? Okay.
That's my question, thank you.
I will move approval.
Second. And then where were we bringing funds from on this?
Yes, what?
So where were the funds?
Reserves, cash reserves, just like the levers coming on general basic cash reserves, which we have, we're all right.
So are we doing the 74? Are we doing the 54 and asking the authority for 20?
I would say that we probably have to do the 54 and ask the authority to do the 20.
So then the 20, they don't have that in their budget either, so we're really talking 74,000.
I believe there's 26. Is that correct, Shane?
26 sounds right.
Already in their budget to pay for this part of the 74 then.
The 26,000 was already in the budget for the 28E that we brought to you that night and approved, not in the authority's budget. It's already in the bid from Sioux City Engineering as part of the road piece, is where that 26 that you're remembering is stuck with.
Okay.
In this confusion of which piece is which, that 26 is already in Sioux City Engineering, because that's why there was a change that we needed to add an additional, because of the less load, was the additional $28,000 on top of their bid to get to the 54, but there's still the $20,000 in question from there into the property. That
Wow, this makes me incredibly nervous to vote on this tonight. I'd like to see something on paper that says this is what it is, because I'm not sure you guys all agree.
I think the only thing we could do is have both break out the costs. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we
Break out the costs.
we could ask them to break out the costs and approve it as two separate things, one for the authority and one for the county. I mean, that might be the simplest puzzle to this, is have Mid-Am split it up as what's on the road, which is the 54, and what goes into the building. So that way you can see a clear definition, and that way whoever's approving what.
And I think the emails that Kenny included in the backup material from Mid-American basically does that. It shows the different amounts for the main line versus the service line. And I mean, ultimately, the money may have to come from the county anyway. My only concern is from a legal standpoint, I don't think the county has the ability to directly pay for that service line that's on the LEC Authority property. Now, we may have to give a gift to the LEC Authority so that they can pay for that, but the actual payment for that needs to come from the LEC Authority.
So do we have the 20,000 in reserves to send over to the authority and have the,
Yes.
Wouldn't that just make sense to do that?
As soon as we know the final number. I thought, we talked 54,000, now we talk about 20,000. What's?
But no, 54 plus 20, so we're talking, we pay the full 74 now as the county. Basically, we're gonna gift 20,000 to the authority so the authority can pay its portion of the line.
How would you like to see it handled, Joshua?
I think that the main reason, it appears the main reason you're bringing it before the board is that Mid-American wants somebody to sign on this dotted line so that they can get their work order put in. I think it would be, you could go ahead and approve this tonight as written, and then the funding side of it, as far as if we make a transfer to the authority or however that works, I think that can be done at a future date. You may want to check with Mid-American as far as for the service portion, if they want a signature from the authority on that, since it's actually coming from the authority. But I think the county can approve what we have to do here tonight.
That way they can get started. Instead of holding it up for another week or two.
Yeah. Can you decipher all this and put it in the packet next week?
Yeah, I'll get together with you.
So I'll make the motion to pay the 74,000.
We already did.
Oh, you did?
Already did it.
Unless you want to clarify it, I'm sorry.
No, I think the discussion's clarified everything.
Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Young, Mr. Wright? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Passes 5-0. Item C, approval to void and abolish all policies, agenda approvals, and resolutions relating to Woodbury County Capital Improvement Projects quality assurance.
As you know, over the past several months, and I might even add years, there's been much discussion over the quality assurance questionnaires, policies, and so on. Initially, the board in good faith agreed to put in the policy and the resolution for us to follow in an effort to conduct business in what would seem to be a proper manner, and that would assist us in attaining the best contractors on our larger projects. As it turned out, while that intention was honorable, it just hasn't worked out very well for us, especially as noted on this LEC project. The time required on the additional problems that we've had, the additional negative media coverage that we've had, and the additional input from other parties that we've had has just made the quality assurance policy a large headache and made the project cumbersome instead of making it easier and creating a better avenue for the county. It's cost money. It's difficult to quantify how much money it has cost the county. I did ask Baker Group if they would try to put together some hours for me, just to get an idea how much extra time it costs them. They were glad enough to do that in the form of a bill, which we can't pay, obviously. But it amounted to approximately 355 hours, and if you were to put that to their dollar figure, it would be around $30,000. Unfortunately, I didn't quantify my hours that are into it, but they are numerous, as well as the board. The board members themselves have spent numerous hours on this. And so I'm asking the board to remove all policies of the quality assurance and the resolution and move forward without it. I believe that the backup information I provided you in your packets provides enough statements from different parties and different areas, some being attorneys on their thoughts, some being architects, others contractors, on whether the policy is actually needed, and in their opinions, why they probably aren't necessary. I certainly understand why certain groups would like the policy in effect. It does have good intentions in the background to alleviate what might be some labor problems. However, I do believe that we have some good local appearance that will probably keep an eye on things for us. And so I just don't think the policy is necessary moving forward.
Would this remove or void anything that's already in place for the project that we're in the middle, or working on?
It would not.
I'll move 12C.
Motion by Radig,
Second.
second by Any further questions for Kenny? And name and address, please.
Felicia Hilton.
Okay.
I am the political director for the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters, Local 948. Just wanted to come and talk with you guys a little bit about the quality assurance questionnaire. And I get Mr. Smith's concerns about time and things like that, but it's really just meant to help local governments to find responsible contractor. Because out in the field, that is not what we're seeing in a lot of places, including in Sioux City and in Woodbury County. We know for a fact that there are a number of workers on projects that are being paid cash and then sometimes not at all. We're working with the legislature now to come up with possibly a contractor registration bill to basically try to figure out the sub-tier contractors, so not the first or second, but when you sub it out to the third, fourth, fifth tier sub, and what's happening with the people that are actually doing that work. In a lot of places, they're trafficked in. Even in Sioux City, we've seen trafficked workers. We've seen workers being paid cash or not at all. And so it was really just to address, are we bringing on responsible contractors? But I know with the LEC project and what I've watched online from the supervisors meetings, that this whole discussion in some way has become, it's gone downhill fast and it's become very personal. And I know that when we originally started working on this, we were all in partnership on building the new facility, the new jail, understanding the needs for safety, and the folks that are working, all the law enforcement officers that are working in the facility, and just all the current technology and everything that's provided for a new facility. So we were all on the same page with that, and we all worked throughout the community to make sure that we got support for the referendum for the jail. It seems as though, I'm not sure how it all went south, but it seems as though this policy being brought up at this time is a result of those things. And I know that some of the concern is over the American Rescue dollars being spent on the jail. And I have read the entire 150-page document, but I do just the guidance from the Treasury. And I know the Treasury is going to come out with permanent guidelines for how to spend the money. But I do know that one piece of it on page 9 in the interim guidelines urges local governments and tribal territories and the state government. It basically encourages you to engage the communities and constituencies on the plans for the money before they're spent. And I know that there's, talk about so much of the money being spent on the jail. And I think some of that is because we didn't go through that process of getting the community input and buy-in. And initially, I know we had talked, I had met with some of the LEC members over Zoom. We had come up with possibly this as an avenue for a piece of the dollars that was missing. And at that time, I believe it was like $5 million. It was nowhere near the $15 million. But I do know that all of these things have become very contentious, and I think that there was one small step that was kind of missed, and that was getting the community engagement and the community buy-in on where the American Rescue dollars are being spent. It clearly lays out for housing, childhood, a number of different things, childhood education, vaccines, those types of things. But it does have one particular clause where it says if it's outside of the scope of the work, what would be eligible in that category. So it just says uses outside of the scope of this category. Certain uses would not be within the scope of this eligible use category, although may be eligible under other eligible use categories. A general infrastructure project, for example, typically would not include unless would not be included unless the project responded to a specific pandemic public health need. And then it goes on to say, or if it's a specific negative economic impact like those described in the above statements, like the affordable housing piece or the childhood education piece. But the American American Recovery Protection Act explicitly includes infrastructure if it is necessary and in water, sewer, or broadband. It's pretty specific in that sense of what the money can be used for as far as the overall use. And I don't think that the jail is necessarily outside of it, but I do think the amount of money might be a little bit outside of what the scope of the necessary uses are. And I just wanted to say that, before, I've heard some of the meetings and they've just become very personal. And I just want to say that there was a time where we were all in this together. And I don't know how we get back to that, but I do know that that piece of the guidance is something that I would encourage the supervisors to think about as far as the amount and how it's used, and possibly holding more community forums in your districts and things like that, just so that there is a better buy-in. But I do think that using that much money of the American Rescue dollars might be a little bit outside of the scope. That's just my opinion. When I've read it, I've sent anything I got nationally, I was sharing with the LEC just so we were all on the same page with this. And I would just like to say that I would hope that this effort to void the quality assurance questionnaire, which is really just there to give supervisors and the building agency or department the ability to know what a responsible contractor is, since it's not defined. It's not defined. It's up to every public entity to somewhat define it. And so this was just our way of doing that. And to see it come up on the agenda to be voided and abolished as if it's a terrible policy, I just wanted to come and speak to you guys about it, because obviously as the carpenters, we think that knowing that that aspect isn't happening on construction projects with the third, fourth, fifth-tier subcontractor that we call a labor broker, that typically traffics in workers from Colorado, Texas. We just had an NBC story about the derecho in eastern Iowa and how they trafficked in workers from Texas, left them stranded here in Iowa for almost a month without pay. We were able to help them recover over $36,000 in wages, but it happened right here in Iowa to people that just came to help us build out of the storm. And so this is a real thing that we're talking about, and we just wanted to make sure that local governments have something in place that can somewhat catch that, what's happening in construction when it comes to those third and fourth tier contractors. They're not contractors, they're labor brokers, they're trafficking in workers from outside the state and bringing them into Iowa. And I know it's an issue for us in construction, but it should be an issue for everyone, because when they get injured on the job, which we've seen happen a number of times, they go to public health care. We're paying taxes for, health care. We pay $9 an hour for our own personal health care. So to see them get the taxpayer benefit of the job, the contract, and then when workers get injured, they don't have workers' comp, and they're back on taxpayer dime. That's all we're trying to figure out here, is how do we make sure that's not happening, and is there a responsible way to do it, and is there accountability when contracts are being let, that part of it doesn't happen. And this was just our solution. So we're hoping if you're going to avoid and abolish it, that hopefully Mr. Smith has something that can replace it, because not having these questions answered and not knowing the answer to these questions is what is going to create more derecho situations. We can't be the only people trying to make sure that taxpayer dollars aren't spent in this way, and that 9 workers from Texas aren't the only workers that have been trafficked into Iowa from other places and not paid and did a bunch of work and left unpaid. And that's all this was trying to address. So hopefully there's an opportunity to fill this void with other legislation if this particular bill isn't working for Mr. Smits.
Well, it's, not speaking for the board, speaking for myself, I mean, and I'm sure there's someone that thinks that this is a poke in the eye to the people that got contentious and like that. I don't see it that way. I see it as there are just certain things that when you talk about in the third, fourth, and fifth tier, there are just certain things that almost no entity, government or private, has any control over on the subs and whatever that get brought in. And certainly, we don't advocate for someone coming in and getting paid under the table and not having workers' comp protections. Like I said, there are just so many things that as much as we hate them, there seems to be very little that we can actually put our thumb on and have any gravity to. We like local control, but there's times that the state seems to argue with us and say that local control doesn't work with us as long as it's the state. So perhaps, and this is me listening to you and other people in the room and elsewhere, is that maybe some form of legislation is necessary. But I don't know that we can, I guess I'm saying that I don't feel like we have the control that other people think we do have or should have in stopping some of this, because I hate it. And I was union for 22 years myself. I did not like seeing other forces come in and doing the jobs. They're just, Felicia, like I said, there are just certain things that our hands are tied. So
I understand that. I just know that there's other counties and cities that have also passed this, that use it on taxpayer-funded projects that aren't tax incentive projects, but that are actually funded by the county, by the taxpayers in the county or the city, and they do use it because there are things that we can do to make sure that we're not using a contractor that uses a second-tier contractor that will hire third and fourth tier contractors. And this is just part of it. It's just getting their commitment and making sure that we know if their past practices have contributed to any type of things that would cause that to happen. And most contractors never complain. I mean, we've not heard hardly any complaints about this process. This is the first time, not in Woodbury County, I can't say, but I mean, outside of Woodbury County, we've never heard contractors necessarily complaining about filling out any documents that the county or the city wants because they want to do business with the county or the city. But like I said, it was really just put there to make sure that what we're seeing in the field and what we're seeing in the field in Iowa has metastasized because Nebraska has done something about it. They have put in a whole new compliance system for construction, including a registration where you're online and you can, everything about you is not public, but if you're bidding, you would go to that website and know if they've had fines that they've left unpaid or anything like that. And they aren't awarded bids if they have those situations. They have a beefed up misclassification task force. They have bilingual inspectors going out to job sites now, and they can cite for a violation of misclassified workers right there on the spot. So people are doing something about this because they see it's a problem. And like I said, this questionnaire may not be the answer for Woodbury County, but to not have something to replace it is my biggest concern because that is happening in Iowa and it has metastasized all over the state. And we do see workers being brought in, 15 into an apartment with bathrooms not working in trailer homes, and they're coming in to do this work. And when you ask them who their FA is, when you ask them about their coyote, they owe the coyote. The FA is who they work for, and they're terrified of them. They don't know anyone else in Iowa. Many times they don't even know what state they're in, let alone what city they're in. We see it every day, including in Sioux City and in Woodbury County, and that's what we're asking, what we thought this would be able to do. So if there's something that can really address that aspect of what's happening in construction, that's all we're asking. And I just felt that when I saw this on the agenda, I just thought, holy cow, the fight has gone, really personal and way too far. And I just want to say that Local 948 was established in this county and then city in 1901. So the Carpenters have built a historic number of buildings in this community, and we just wanted to participate in the jail. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Well, it's probably me that, I think I sponsored this 15 years ago or so. It was a good idea at the time. As I look through it now, it really needs some repair and some fixing. And it ought to be a joint effort, but I don't see that happening in today's world. We're so far apart on everything. It's just incredible. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Anyone else?
I'll let other people speak if they want to.
Kenny?
I just wanted to comment, I agree with Felicia that I think legislation is the best solution for everyone. Maybe something along the lines of the Nebraska laws that she was talking about in a contractor area for registration on projects. I think that is probably the way to go. What I do know is I don't mean this to be a stick in the eye. I just think it exposes our board to accountability that isn't necessary and obviously has caused us some problems so far. I will say that I don't think this is a union or a non-union issue, and I don't see it that way. I was a union member for many years myself. I was a union steward. I believe they bring to the table many good things. I believe there was great intentions for our quality insurance. I just don't believe it's working for us, and that's why I'd like to abolish it.
Well, it certainly doesn't mean that going forward, 2, 5, 20 years down the road, that something else couldn't be worked out, or by then possibly legislation can be changed and we'll have some more teeth in the issue at some point going forward, which frankly I'm in favor of. I don't like to have workers out there without any protections and so on.
I would agree.
Matthew?
I agree that state law would be the best avenue to address these questions for the whole community. I mean, this introduces a level of interpretation that is subjective, and as we've mentioned before, it's an unintended consequence, and it's, to use your word, Felicia, those unintended consequences have metastasized in this community, unfortunately. And so the board acted in good faith then, we're acting in good faith now, and it really comes down to leveling that playing field and reducing that subjectivity, which, you know, is addressing concerns that are already parameters in state law and that the county already has in its best interest to address through the normal process and investigation. And all of these details being publicly available, that's why others in the community have written letters stating it's duplicative and redundant and may expose the taxpayers to excess legal costs and staff time, of course. So.
Thank you. Keith?
I'll just say the intentions and the results haven't really lined up the way I expected.
Just curious, has what's currently in that policy, has it been effective at curtailing some of the problems that Felicia laid out?
To date, I would say no. This will not abolish the policy that's currently in place on our new LEC. This will only abolish the policy going forward.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Passes 4-1, Monson opposed. Board of Supervisors, we have a gentleman here representing a group called Para 911 and would like to have access to, Dave, you want to come on up? Our Prairie Hill facility before it is demolished. Would you like to explain your story a little bit?
I've grown up and lived in Sioux City pretty much all my life. I've known quite a few deputies who have been out to that facility. Had an uncle who worked for the sheriff's department as well, and have for many, many years heard about all kinds of crazy stuff that's happened out there. And it's always been kind of a goal of mine since I've gotten into this field to go in there and put some either truth behind this or put it to rest as just a bunch of hogwash and nothing really there. So as far as myself, my group, I've been investigating since 2008. I've investigated other law enforcement buildings. I've investigated courthouses that are still currently in use. I've been called in by some sheriffs from other counties and other states and looked into some stuff for them as well. I've seen stuff and heard stuff that would make the skin crawl on the back of your neck like you wouldn't believe. But I've also been able to go into places and put stuff to bed and prove that, you know, it's environmental stuff that's causing issues or things like that. So, you know, I just want to go in there and give answers to the people who've worked in that building for years and centuries and be able to tell them, you know, yeah, what you were seeing is actually really true going on, or, you know, nothing's there. We can't find anything. Like I told Mr. DeWitt, that anything that we find as far as evidence, whether it be video, audio evidence, or pictures, whatever that may be, all that stuff would be revealed to the board if you all wanted to see it and hear it. We would reveal it all to you guys before anything else was done with it. You guys would also receive a copy of anything that we do get to keep and use at your discretion or whatever you want to do with it. So,
We talking a TV series here?
no, no.
Would you require the sheriff to be there while you're doing your investigation?
He does not need to be there. Unless they have deputies who want to come. As I told you the other day, one of our other goals would be to possibly be able to talk to any of the deputies or work staff that's worked out there who has had experiences out there to kind of talk to us about those and let us know where they had the activity at, what time it was at, where it was at, how they felt, how it affected them, things like that. It kind of helps us go in our investigation as to where we need to look at and how we need to conduct things. So.
And if I recall, you were not going to charge the county anything for your service?
That's correct.
And you would sign waivers in case some injury or some other
Correct.
incident took place?
One of the biggest things with this field is that, and I've always felt this way, is that if you have to charge somebody for something, then that person that you're charging, they expect something. And when they expect something, then that's when you start getting people who go out there and they fake stuff, and then they start putting false stories out there about things going on, and then somebody like me has to come through there and set it right.
So is there any legal precedence if somebody were to go into a place, become possessed, and then the possessed person says, I did not sign that waiver?
That only happens to Jack Bagans. But like I said, I've been doing this since 2008, and I have never come across anything that's been demonic or evil or had any type of bad intentions of hurting anybody. A lot of stuff has been either, like I said, something that's non-malevolent and or just something environmental.
So I have researched now that haunted Airbnbs can sometimes pay around $155 a night on average. This could end up becoming a potential revenue stream for the county.
You are correct. And as I talked to Rocky about this, mentioned this to him. there are counties and other states that do have buildings that are owned by the county or by the city and, or privately owned by individuals. And it is a source of revenue that, you know, if it is proven that there are things going on there, there's places out there that charge anywhere from $250 to over $1,000 for a group of anywhere from 5 to 10 people.
I'm just going to say that this is getting beyond the purview of the motion that's on the, thank you, Keith.
Can't make you money.
Anytime.
Let's first find out if you find any evidence, and then we will, with that said, I see no harm in allowing these folks to go out there and do what they do. They do not expect compensation from the county. Could be helpful for some entertainment purposes, so I move approval to allow Para 911 access
Second.
after they have signed liability waivers.
That was fast, Munson.
Motion by DeWitt, second by Monson, and we did have the tentative date of 17th,
Correct.
and I still have access, and you will be in contact with me. Well, let's vote on it first.
Joshua, is this a matter of public property and so allowing anyone access as long as there's no safety issues?
Well, I mean, it's the discretion of the board whether to allow it or not. Just, I think it's a bad idea just from a liability standpoint. And that's purely from the standpoint of how do we limit liability to the county? Well, if they're not able to go out there at all, there's no chance of anybody getting hurt or us being sued or any of that. So it's nothing specific to this group or who they are or who wants to be out there, but it's from the standpoint of limiting liability. The most surefire way to do that is to say no. With liability waivers, they are generally upheld, but if there were, someone to get injured, the county, a governmental entity is always seen as someone with deep pockets, and there's law firms that are willing to take cases on. So even if we were to ultimately prevail, there's still a cost to defend, whether it's staff time or outside counsel, any of that. So,
And not to disagree with our representative from the county attorney's office, but to Mr. Raddick's point, if this would be a revenue stream, that could help pay for,
yeah.
again, we're getting beyond the purview here.
I mean, the other thing too is a concern would be if we would create some kind of attractive nuisance out there too, if there's something where, okay, something is found or there's something that's said and then other people want to check it out and things like that. So I think that you do need to think of the ramifications potentially.
I do have a question. Is there a limitation on who can go out there? Because I see the guy at Channel 9's got a great big grin on his face. Do we limit it to the 911 group?
Maybe the Journal would like to report on it too.
Yeah.
I think
I have actually been in the Journal several times, as well as the Cherokee Chronicle. So we've done TV, we've done paper. So
we need to know ahead of time who it's going to be and make sure that they've signed a waiver before they're on the property at all.
on your point with the waivers, I just want to point out too that back when Katy Station was here, the Katy Stockyards, we had actually got permission from the city, who had possession of the building at the time, and we got permission from them to actually go in and investigate that building as well, to which we did sign waivers for them as well. The unfortunate thing is we never did get to investigate that building because they ended up hiring a contractor to demolish the building sooner than what they thought. So like probably about a week before we got to go in and do that,
They had it all.
it got pulled, so.
Two questions. One, how long does the study take? Is this a week study, a year study, 2 years? Second, are we delaying the project to demolish the building now?
They're talking about the 17th, and for all practical purposes, they'd probably be in there about 10 hours.
If that.
Because whether there's something in there or not, the building needs to be demolished, and we're trying to get a schedule put together to get it demolished.
We are well ahead of the demolition schedule.
Dennis, what if it's a habitat for the paranormal?
There's a lot of things called asbestos. You
What?
can't go in there and live in there.
Nobody's,
Well, and my understanding is we're talking about a one-time access.
right.
And is someone gonna be there kind of supervising or knowing who's there?
Me.
Okay. As long
I
as
have
we have
access to the building.
a county representative that's kind of overseeing it and one time in and out and.
Yes.
And what are you hoping to find?
I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. Okay,
Got to vote
with
on it.
everything heard from the county attorney's office and others, do we have any final comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Nay.
Passes 3-2, right and unopposed.
Hey, Mr. Hunt, I invite you to come out
Well, I've been there.
and join us for the investigation.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. Sure, I'll hear about it.
We like to take the non-believers and make them believers. So.
Thank you, Mr. LaFleur.
Thank you.
Reports on committee meetings.
I sat in on a Les Hills Alliance meeting, and they have committees, the stewardship, protection, and economic development. They are working away. They actually, protection and economic development have grants available for items that will relate to that. You can get on the website and apply. The interesting thing I did run across was from the census, Harrison has 14,587 people, which is down 2.3. Mills is 14,484, which is down 3.8. Monona is 8.75, which is down 5.3. Plymouth up 2.8. Platte County up 0.5. Woodbury County up 3.7, which puts us at 105,941. So we're doing, and Iowa in general is up 4.7%. Second one was 3rd Judicial District, Department of Corrections Services. They're running, last year they ran about 65% capacity. This year they're up to 80%. They turn over beds in about 3.5 months in a year, and women longer. But they are full swing and have a waiting list. I'm done.
Anybody else?
We got that conference board meeting tomorrow. Who's all going?
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, I think I
They're
can make
planning on
too.
it. Anybody else? No.
Which conference board?
Sioux City Conference Board. You going, Keith?
I think so.
I will be there.
Solar power? Are we gonna get back at that somehow?
I think we should entertain local companies as well on that.
Well, yeah, we gotta bid it, I think.
I had another call too from another firm that's done projects around Sioux City. What are we supposed to do? Do we hear from each one of them or just put it out to bid?
Put it out to bid.
Well, and you'd have to have specs on the product. You'd have to have specs on the product.
Well, one thing that I'm still waiting for is an assessment of expected how much power would be used out there, and it's hard to tell on a building that is not up and running. It is only speculation on, because they don't know how well it'll heat or cool. It's gonna have, what, 6,000 amp service panel, which is substantial, but it's probably the only way we could realistically bid it out would be to ask them to cover whatever the supply would be for 6,000 amps.
I was thinking along the lines of just doing Dorothy Pico to start.
Well, I think we're several months away from even getting
Oh, yeah.
a stronger conversation about it, so. Round 2 of citizen concerns. Anybody wish to speak on anything that has not been on the agenda?
Oh, it has to.
Well, it's round 2 of citizen concerns.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to address Mr. Ung's concerns about being subjective. The words responsive and responsible kind of leave that to a subjective situation. And it's not anything we can do. I mean, we can't define it at this moment, but that's the attempt to define what is responsive and responsible. And I know that, it is the lowest bidder, but we believe that the words responsive and responsible mean a number of things. It means performance. It means, being on time for, when the project's supposed to, be done, not having a bunch of change orders. There's a number of things that mean responsive and responsible. But we also think that the county knowing a little bit of what that is, like, do you have OSHA 10 for your workers that are doing dangerous work all day long? Do they know what to do? Are there defibrillators on the job site? Like, knowing what is important to you guys is what the responsive and responsive is, and I think that too is subjective. I don't necessarily believe the questionnaire is subjective. It's just asking questions and giving people the ability to know what those answers are. It doesn't say that you're not going to get it. It's not asked to every person that's bidding. It was post-bid. But I do think that the words lowest responsive, responsible bidder, the one part that we cannot describe and no one can get on the same page is what's responsive and what's responsible. And that's the subjectivity, not the questionnaire. Those two words. And we're having a really hard time in construction trying to get people to define that. And I'll just say what my friend Don Bacon in Nebraska has said as an endorsed Republican congressperson in Nebraska by the Carpenters, that this question isn't just about the people that are on the job. It's about the contractors, union or non-union, but it's about all of the businesses that do everything the right way, and no one has to tell them to do it. They pay their taxes, they pay payroll taxes, state taxes, they pay workers' comp, unemployment insurance, they pay into the whole system to run a business. There's tons of construction companies out there that do it the right way, from top to bottom. And that's all we're trying to advocate, is that for the legitimate contractor, regardless of status, but that you are paying payroll taxes, you are paying workers' comp, unemployment insurance, and state taxes. You're doing those things, just like every other business person in the state of Iowa. That's what we're trying to address. And that's what we think responsive and responsible is, those things. And there are a number of contractors that are the lowest bid because they leave off those very numbers in their bid. They leave them off. So whenever you're looking at a bid and you say, well, this one was $178,000 and this one comes in at $62,000, there's a lot being left off the books for that bid to be that low. And that's what it is. Payroll taxes, state taxes, workers' comp, unemployment insurance. And if you put health care in the bid, you're never going to be the lowest bid. But that's what good contractors do. And that's what good employers do. And that's all the questionnaire is trying to address. So yes, responsive and responsible are subjective, but that's what they are. And it's subjective up to the people that are elected to define those. And we just wanted to help in that. And I'll close with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Allowing me to speak.
Board concerns?
Yes, if I may.
Sure.
Just to respond to that, I didn't mean to suggest that there isn't already subjectivity in the process without the questionnaire. Indeed, Kenny mentioned that there is subjectivity and that there'll continue to be scrutiny locally, as there should be, about the county's acceptance of a responsible bidder. My point personally is that I believe it adds an extra layer of subjectivity on top of what is already subjective. So just wanted to clarify that. And I also did want to thank you, Felicia, for coming and sharing your comments with us in a way that is, you know, you came as someone interested in a two-way conversation, and I do appreciate that. I would be glad to see you more involved with our local discussions on behalf of Local 948 in the future, and I think you said you're not sure how we can come together. I mean, I do. It's tell the truth, admit when you don't know, and just work as a team. Again, thank you.
Any other board concerns?
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
Citizen concerns, I didn't get up before you moved on. Shane Albrecht, 600 Maverick Lane. Just wanted to let the whole board know because I need to get Karen to post a notice of public gathering. Next Wednesday, September 15th at 1 o'clock will be the groundbreaking for the authority at the LEC. So if more than 3 of you are going to be there, just please let me know so I can make sure we get a notice of public gathering posted.
Would
Okay?
you put one out, please?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that.
Thank you.
Would you say that was?
The 16th at 1. 15th at 1, sorry.
Next Wednesday. A week from this Wednesday.
I was on a partial county tour yesterday. I went past one of the cemeteries in Grant Township off of L21 Road, and wow, does that look nice. Very well maintained and mowed. Have a question. I got an email from a person on another topic here, was curious if we could add their Alzheimer's group webpage to our county webpage. I responded that I would check into that, but on a personal level, as a county official, I think that while it sounds noble, I don't know that we want to start being a public billboard for.
The county page is for county business. And
I would like to think
that's
so.
what tax dollars are used for on it, so I think that's.
And thirdly, are we still interested in having an employee appreciation luncheon? Karen will not leave me alone on this, and I'm trying to get an answer. I'm just going to say, yes, we should.
I think so.
Okay, I will get with Karen and we'll put that together and probably tomorrow or sometime and move forward with that. Anybody else with board concerns?
We got to free up Dennis so we can get all the food for that.
We get it.
We are adjourned.